Disney's Silver Age of animation lasted from 1950 to 1967 and includes Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, The Sword and the Stone, and Jungle Book. And I've ranked them all in order of my personal preference, based on the quality of their storytelling, characters, and timelessness. So let's get started. Alice in Wonderland has beautiful animation and scenes rich with color. But honestly, the plot is a slog to get through. It never clearly defines what exactly Alice's hero's journey is. Then she follows a white rabbit to Wonderland with so many new characters introduced with no real point to them that the story feels like a waste of time the longer it goes on. The tea party scene is a highlight because of the amazing vocal performance given by the Mad Hatter, and the Unbirthday song is catchy too. The Queen of Hearts is a noteworthy villain, but she doesn't show up until Act 3 when the movie is nearly over. In the end, it seems that Alice learned that complete nonsense is frustrating and that it's important to have rules and order. But her journey to learn that lesson lacked focus and character development, which made this movie an easy pick to be at the bottom of the list. The Sword and the Stone is a film that tried combining several of Disney's most successful elements by having a British story, talking animals, and magic. But unfortunately, it turned out to be another film that suffered from a weak story with too many side characters, no central strong villain, and no clear goal for the hero. Arthur feels more like a sidekick because the story focuses on Merlin's goal to educate the young boy. But he really has no ambitions for greatness or being educated. He doesn't even want to become king, which was what the whole story was building up to. The film has some redeemable qualities in its humor, with the back and forth banter between Archimedes and Merlin. Madame Mim is a scene stealer of a villain, and the wizard's duel where she faces off with Merlin is a fantastic display of Disney's animation talents. But these moments weren't enough to outweigh the lack of focus in the plot, a central villain, or a hero that actually cares about his journey. Jungle Book was Walt Disney's last animated movie he directly oversaw before his death. And for that reason alone, it's sad that Jungle Book's story wasn't much stronger than its predecessor, The Sword and the Stone. The story has a great universal theme about a child leaving his comfort zone to find where he belongs, but similar to the other films already mentioned, Jungle Book's plot suffers from too many villains and side characters, so Mowgli doesn't develop meaningful relationships with anyone besides Baloo. There was an attempt to have a central villain with Shere Khan, but like the Queen of Hearts, his impact was neutered by not appearing until Act 3. Jungle Book does have some catchy songs, with The Bare Necessities being the best of them. But overall, the quality of Disney's story is missing a lot of bare necessities of what makes a Disney film stand the test of time. Peter Pan is a great adventure film, with the fight at Skull Rock as a highlight of the plot. For its mix of tension and release with the danger of the location, it's the first time we see Captain Hook and Peter Pan cross swords, and the slapstick humor thrown in with Mr. Smee's affable mannerisms and Captain Hook's hopeless struggle to get away from the crocodile. The animation still looks great, and Tinkerbell has transcended her role as a one-off supporting character to become an iconic trademark of Disney's brand. But what really hamstrings its timeless quality are the outdated racial stereotypes of Native Americans. The film is a fun adventure movie with plenty of action and a focused plot with a central villain, but Peter Pan just doesn't have enough pixie dust to fly any higher on this list. Lady and the Tramp was groundbreaking for its time because it was Disney's first original story, instead of drawing inspiration from the usual fairy tales and literary works. And even though the film isn't as cherished as some of Disney's other animated films, it did manage to create an iconic romantic scene where Lady and the Tramp accidentally share a kiss over a plate of spaghetti. Its story is well-paced and has several interesting side characters, but like Peter Pan, it uses outdated stereotypes with the Siamese cats. As far as villains go, there are many that Lady encounters on her journey. But because there isn't a strong central villain, the dramatic tension in the story isn't as focused as it could be. 101 Dalmatians is Disney's second feature centered on talking dogs, but this time with the human characters playing a more significant role to the story. It has another typical love-at-first-sight relationship, but a refreshing twist is that this is the first time a marriage is the start of a relationship rather than the end of it. Cruella is a memorable nasty villain, with some downright scary-looking facial expressions. Hello! The film has a strong villain, a well-paced story, and characters on both sides of the fence that have clearly defined goals. But because of the financial troubles Disney was having at the time, 101 Dalmatians was a big step down in quality of its animation and detailed backgrounds that the studio was known for. Sleeping Beauty is a standout princess film because of how beautiful its artwork is and the darker tone of its story. Maleficent is a menacing villain with a commanding presence, even though she hardly appears in the first half of the movie, kinda like Darth Vader. Disney relied again upon the tried and true love at first sight relationship, but Philip was the first Disney prince to have some form of character development, and he even got to play the hero too. On the flip side though, Disney chose to make the main character feel more like a side character, since all we basically see of Aurora is her falling in love, falling asleep, and then waking up to get married and dance. I would love to rank this movie higher on the list because the animation is so beautiful, has a well-paced story, great humor, and a standout villain, but having the main character sit on the sidelines for most of the movie just feels wrong to give it the top spot. After World War II ended, Cinderella was returned to Disney's roots, with another iconic princess fairy tale about dreams coming true. The story is beautifully animated, tightly paced, and has interesting characters. Lady Tremaine isn't a frightening-looking villain like Maleficent or Cruella, but there's something more devious about her brand of evil, because she's a more realistic villain as a domestic abuser who poses a constant threat to Cinderella throughout the whole story. On the downside, the prince's character is one of the least developed male love interests in Disney's history. But aside from him, Cinderella has a great lineup of characters, a strong central villain, and a good balance between tension and humor, making it the strongest film of Disney's Silver Age. Click a video on the screen for more rankings about other Disney movies, and sometimes crazy woman drivers, right here on Fun Fact Films.